Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ACSOM Bulletin. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's double trouble. Lawrence might be joining us later on, but if he's not, we'll try and get as many comments in. Since it's just the pair of us, Patrick, been 2 games since we were last on, 2 victories. How's your week been?
Good. I mean, I think the last time we spoke, we were saying 8 games left. It's 10 games left. It's 8 now, and we're hoping for 2 victories, 2 good performances. And I think we probably got that. I mean, the Livingston performance was certainly up to standard. I think the second half against St Mirren were much better as well, although they set up to defend, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yes, good week, 2 good results for Celtic, and onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards indeed. Tagline there obviously is a bit of news that's broken this morning regarding our former captain, Scott Brown. We've all come to that later on in the show, so keep your comments. I know a couple of people are coming in to talk about that just now, but keep them for the later on in the show. We're going to talk about St Mirren first. That was nearly a week ago now. Patrick, we'd obviously dropped points at Easter Road. We'd got off the hook a wee bit, you could say, with our nearest title challengers dropping points also at home to Motherwell. There was been a lot of chat around that game at Celtic Park about a result being important, of course, but also seeing some type of performance. It was quite a flat first half, I thought. There wasn't a lot created, but the second half was a lot more fluidity in our play, and I thought we were a lot better. But what was your thoughts on the second half performance, particularly against St Mirren last week? It was a 5-4 win. They were playing again, a team sat in, but eventually get the breakthrough, and I thought we played very well in that second half.
Yeah, we did. It's difficult to be totally certain of how we played when we get all of the ball anyway. I don't think they had a shot on target. I don't even know if they had a shot. But it's just us struggling to create. It's just us struggling to get through the back 11 that they play. We've seen it 22nd of December, St Mirren Park, 0-0. Extremely flat, very frustrating. They managed to get a point off us then. They set up exactly the same way, despite having a new manager. And for, 55, 60 minutes, it sort of worked. And then Carter Vickers pops up with that goal. But as you say, we created a lot more chances in the second half. And, I think that's, I'm not entirely sure of the stats, but I think it's probably something to do with the fact, we never stop. The famous clip of Ange saying we never stop. Our fitness is a lot better than what it was last season. It's probably a lot better than a lot of teams in the league, where if they start to tire, we can still go at a tempo where we can take advantage. I think we've done it a few times this season, despite it being a bit of a slog in the first half. Because of our extra quality, we are able to go in that extra yard, that extra step, and get the win. So I was delighted with certainly the second half performance and the 2-0 victory.
We got that breakthrough through Carter Vickers, rightly or wrongly. People would say he's getting the break of the ball, still seeing it at the back of the net. But I thought 10 minutes after that, the subs that Ange brought on really changed the game. I thought Beaton came on, and we'll come to him obviously, because I thought he played very well at Livingston again, as that kind of holding midfielder, which allowed Callum McGregor to go further forward and eventually get a goal. Also, James Forrest came on. We'll need to talk about him. I know Daniel will definitely want us to talk about him with regards to what we've been talking about in previous weeks with Jamesy Forrest. And Tom Rogic looked a lot better when he came on. I thought he was one of the subs that really changed the game. I thought we looked a lot more aggressive in our press when we were going forward, and the tempo just really upped when Tom Rogic came on into that part. Firstly, to look at that St Mirren game, is it just about biding patience? Because I was kind of confident even at half time, chatting to people, that I thought the breakthrough would come. Have you got that? I think Ange has spoken, Patrick, about us having belief that we will get there eventually, but it's just about being patient. What was your thoughts on the subs last Wednesday? Because I thought they had a real impact in the game.
Yeah, I mean, just on your first point, it was the same at Dundee. People might think I'm some sort of nutcase, but I was sort of quite confident after 80 minutes at 2-2 that we'd somehow get the win, and we did end up getting the win. Getting the win with Giakoumakis, and we didn't have to wait that long for St Mirren. Once we scored, I don't think they were ever going to. They couldn't even fashion a chance. St Mirren, I mean, they are they are poor going forward, certainly at Celtic Park. And then you're talking about the substitutions. Yeah, I think you mentioned Roderick as well. Roderick, I think, probably just needed a rest, actually, because you seen against Wraith and against Bodo, he was very poor, I thought. And, Europe's a different level, I think. I personally don't think Roderick's fast enough to play in Europe, certainly against a team like Bodo. Maybe against a team like Betis, who come from Spain, a bit slower. But I certainly don't think against Bodo he was good enough to start. He was out the team for a game or two, and he's come back and he's back to his usual self. So I don't think there's a problem there long term. And then you're saying about the substitutions. I thought Beaton, he had good moments against St Mirren, but cameo appearances, I personally think it's quite hard to judge. But that is what he's there for almost. Come on, slow the game down, try and control it. And I was actually working during the Livingston game, but from the highlights and from what I saw at the time, he did seem to have a really good game. I saw he played a really good pass over the top to Forrest in the first half, towards the end of the first half, which was absolutely exquisite. So he's been playing well as well. And it was good to see Karamoko come on against St Mirren on the Wednesday night as well.
Yeah, Karamoko and Yusuke Deguchi, a player that we preempted it last week, we were talking about it. Because I think, again, he could be an important player in terms of the squad. On the way home from Livingston in the car, on Sunday we had Radio Scotland on. It was Peter Grant and Craig Levine, Mr. Anti-Football, almost matched perfectly with David Martindale, the game I'd just been watching. And they're chatting about, what's Celtic's best front 3-11, what's Celtic's best 11. And Peter Grant was emphasising the point, this is about a squad with Ange Postecoglou. It's not about an 11 in the park. It's about trusting people to play the system, something which you could argue was possibly a downfall in Bodo that second game as well, that he thought he could bring people in. It didn't happen. But we do seem in a good place just now. I think I saw John talking in 67 Hail Hail about this, about us being in a better place than some people probably think, and that we've got 8 games left in the league. We've got this rest of 8 days between the game at Livingston and the game up at Tannadice, and they're back to 1 game a week. I think that's going to, keeping players fit, avoiding injuries. I think we're in a really good place at this moment in time, Patrick, to go and get this league championship back, and that 3 points at St Mirren certainly helped go towards that. We'll move on from St Mirren. Just quickly again, during last week, this is becoming a very familiar sight on our Twitters, Facebooks, etc., and that Ange won another Manager of the Month award. But it was a really nice touch, Patrick, to see him including the analysis team. I think probably the one figure in that analysis team that they all know was Peter Houston, the former Dundee United and Falkirk boss. It really is a collective organisation at Celtic just now. You can see that, not just in photo ops, but just in everything that's getting done, Patrick. Thoroughly deserved award again for Ange. I think that was for the month of February.
Yeah, totally. In the first one, he had, I think it was John Kennedy and Stephen McManus, and people were saying, where's Gavin Strachan? Because in the press conference he said, it is a collective, it is a group of coaches, it's not just one man, despite the fact that, only one man has come in and it's all changed from last season. And then obviously when he wins his second one, it's just him and Gavin Strachan. And then, as you say, it's the analysis team and Peter Houston and stuff. So it is nice that he's, including all these people. He recognises that it's a team effort because, of course, football is a team sport. Hopefully with the amount of awards he's going to win for Manager of the Month, every single Celtic employee is going to be in these photos at some point.
Yep. Hoopy maybe even might get in one.
But yeah, it was a good performance on Wednesday, another good performance on Sunday, and hopefully he wins Manager of the Month on March. And as you say, 8 days off. I'm not sure there'll be days off. I think, as we'll come on to, it'll be spent at Lennoxtown, most of it, and it should be interesting to see how the players react to more training under Ange, because obviously it's been a game at a time. You only really get a days and a half training with these 2 games a week. But looking forward to Monday night. It'll be a tough game, no doubt, but You know, if we want to bring as many trophies home as possible, we just need to keep playing Ange ball and hope it will work in 90 minutes.
Yeah, well, it seems as if it's far off that because the amount of football that we've been playing since the winter break, Patrick, and before then, the month for December was absolutely hectic for us, fixture scheduling wise, so the players will get a deserved break. I think today might be one of those days off. Rio Hatate was on Instagram Live earlier. I don't know if they were maybe in doing a bit of kind of post-match analysis yesterday and giving the day off today. Then it'll probably be all hands on deck towards Dundee United. One of our usual Tuesday contributors is saying that he should have the ACSOM to the next award pick. He's very welcome to. If we do start running out of Celtic staff, I'm more than happy to begin up to an extent to get my photo with Ange if he wins another Manager of the Month award, which I probably assume he will do. We're already into March with 1 or 2 games, so hopefully that continues and we have another positive month. Just another wee comment to come back on here. Let me find it. Where have it? Yep. Stevie's asking about my Fred Perry supplier. That's all myself. Yep. I'm a Fred Perry man. And by the way, there's some cracking pictures I've came across, Patrick, of Billy McNeil also wearing the Fred Perry gear, so I'm in good company with the old Fred Perry stuff. But anyway, Livingston on Sunday, usually a place I go to go shopping. Ziner outlet there. The Fred Perry shop's actually very good there, by the way. Performance and result. Arguably we got that against St Mirren in the second half. Definitely get the result. Definitely get the performance in the second half. First half's questionable. But Livingston, we'd heard that all 2006 the last time we'd won in the league, 2007 the last time we'd won there. I think it was the Scottish Cup. But this really was a very complete, dominant performance, and eventually we broke the hoodoo. How good a feeling was that to get that off our backs?
Excellent. And, you thought after 13 minutes it wasn't going to happen because we miss a penalty. And then we miss a fantastic header. And it's captain Callum McGregor who, probably more than any other player or member of staff at the football club, wants to prove to the fans that we can win the title this season. You see the desire and the passion in him every time we score, every time we win a game. You've seen it when he scored against Aberdeen in November. You've seen it when we lifted the League Cup.
Shouting at Borna Barisic.
Yep, we'll not repeat what he said, but he's obviously got big shoes to fill in Scott Brown. I think he's filled them immensely in the 9 or so months he's had the captain's armband. But obviously, you need to replicate it in trophies and success and performance as well, and he's obviously keen to do that, and he'll be disappointed in himself even though we won the game. But, these things happen. You miss penalties from time to time. Luckily, we go on to score. Going to score 3 and then immediately concede 1 in typical Celtic fashion. But, the performance merited a Celtic victory, despite what maybe Davy Martindale's been saying and what fans of other teams have been saying. We dominated the game in every metric, I think. So I'm quite happy with the performance. I'm happy with the result. It gets the hoodoo off our back. I think at the start of the season we could buy a win away from home. We've now went to Pittodrie twice, Tynecastle, the Spaghetti had all bar one. We've won away from home, I believe, this season, and that one outstanding is coming up in about a month or so. Yep. So fingers crossed for that one, but all focus on Dundee United for now.
No, absolutely. It's one game at a time. The layoff just now, I think, is going to do us a world of good. As I touched on there, we can have a wee chat about that, but it was a very dominant performance, I thought, on Sunday, Patrick. Paul McKenzie's came in to say, delighted to see the team back to form. We're shown at the start of the season, absolutely. Will McMillan, this is a great point as well. We beat an informed team yet. I think Livingston had taken something like 17 points since the winter break, so we were playing an informed team on a surface which has not been favourable to ourselves in recent years, but we did play some nice stuff on it. So, I think it's one of those fixtures, Patrick, somebody that goes home and away with Celtic that we should actually be looking forward to. We get 3 stands there. It's not too difficult to get to. If it was a grass park, it'd probably be one of the better places to go to in the league. But just because of that record there, I've all looked at it. I think whenever the fixtures came out and went, oh no, we're playing Livingston again. Brendan Rodgers struggled there. I think he actually only played one game there though. I say struggled there, he only played one game. And Neil Lennon's record there, very poor too. And the 2007 stuff, you can't buy into it too much. It's not Celtic's fault that Livingston weren't in the Premiership. That's not our fault. I never doing. Patrick, you touched on Callum McGregor, the penalty, the header. I actually says to boys beside me, I said, "This stadium's cursed, man. We're not going to do this again." I thought, I know, but how quick was it to get that important quick goal back after that? Because I think the heads can start to go down a wee bit. Missing the penalty, missing a chance, you start to think there's doubt in yourself. I know it upset Andy Walker, but I don't think that Celtic goal might have upset you to get the opener, and it came from a corner. I know it was second phase from a corner, but it's a cracking header from Carl Starfelt. And there's Maeda doing what he does best in the box, or around the box to set the ball in the back of the net.
Yep, and I don't want to bring up bad memories, but it's the type of goal that we conceded last season. When we effectively lost the league at Ibrox on the 2nd of January last year, I think it's Aribo that flicks it on at the front post. It comes off McGregor and goes in, but even if it doesn't go in, Morelos is at the back post, and we've got nobody in the back post. And then at the game at Celtic Park, that's what actually happens. Morelos scores his first goal against Celtic at the back post from a header. So it's the type of goal that we've conceded before. So we choose not to defend it, and we're also pretty poor at trying to score it. But, we're improving under Ange. We've scored flick on from the front post, header in at the back. And I'm not sure we needed to score 4 minutes after the penalty miss. I mean, it did help. I enjoyed it quite a lot. But I think we probably did need to score in the first half. Because I thought if we went into that second half 0-0, it could become a bit of a slog, and I know they would tire, but we would tire as well. I know I said 5-10 minutes ago that we're fitter and we're better, and we don't need to worry about not necessarily opening the scoring. But at a place like that, when you've not won there in so long, I think it's really, really important that you get the early goal, and we did that. I think you're saying about Livingston there. They were 4th in the table. I think they got 11 points from 18. They were 2nd in the form table of the last 6 games. So they were a team on form, 2nd best team in the league based on the last 6 fixtures. I think I'm right in saying that. So really impressive victory, and hopefully that's it out the way for another season.
Well, we hope so, but there is a possibility that they may keep into that top 6, and there is a possibility that we might get sent there again. I saw a comment earlier on in the show. We don't have a clue what this split is going to be apart from Rangers and Hearts. It could be anything, because it's so tight between 4th and below. I think to about 8th or 9th, because Aberdeen's down there and could still be in a shout at this. So we don't know. We'll see how that goes. If we play like that, I've got no complaints about going back to the spaghetti ad, but I'd rather probably avoid it for another season. Kevin 14's come in to say we undervalue our defence, it's winning us this league. Let's talk about Carl Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers, Patrick. Vickers, obviously the goal against St Mirren, another outstanding performance. I think arguably he's in me a shout of player of the year for Celtic this year. He's been absolutely solid in that Celtic defence. Even going forward on Sunday, it was like a lorry going through that Livingston team. I wouldn't fancy charging over to Vickers to try and take the ball off him. And Carl Starfelt, we spoke about getting onto that header that's Maeda gets onto after the knockback from strike. 2 really important players for us this season. I know we've had chats about Chris Julian, about getting rid of, he fits back into that team. I think this has been really, really important to get solidified, because it was something that we just didn't have last season. Was 2 centre-halves at the very core of that Celtic team, with a goalkeeper also, who at the weekend pulled off saves when we needed him to pull off saves. I mean, that one in the first half is a terrific top save.
Yep, 100%. I know, some people prefer Starfelt, but I think, Carter-Vickers is probably the superior centre-half. If you're to go through every single game they've played and say, who was better, Starfelt, Carter-Vickers, you're probably saying Carter-Vickers for the vast majority, we've spoken on here, I think just about every Celtic fan's probably seen it on Twitter, the discussion between Carter-Vickers and Jota, who would be the priority. I've flip-flopped between the two. I think it's even. I don't think you can separate them. Both of them have been phenomenal players for Celtic. I think if Jota doesn't get that injury, we'd probably speak about him in the same light as we speak about Carter Vickers. It's just the fact that Carter Vickers has played almost every game to such a high level that we discuss how important he's been. And the fact that he came into such a woeful defence. I mean, Julian was injured, Beaton was getting himself sent off, who's been played out of position. Stephen Welsh was the experienced one in that defence, and he'd only been playing for Celtic for 6 months by that point, 30 appearances or something. So it's absolutely phenomenal, the fact that we've now got certainly a settled back two. I don't think we've got a settled back four or a back five yet. But the defence is 100% helped us win this league. It was what cost us the league last season, because I don't think we had a problem scoring goals last season. It was conceding them, and I'm glad that we've got that sorted out, certainly domestically. And we can always improve. And the defence isn't just about the back four; it's about the midfield. You need to cut out these attacks earlier. You don't want your keeper making loads of saves, because why are you giving up so many shots? And you've got to think about all these things. So it's definitely a team effort, but absolutely solid, definitely. And hopefully we can hold on to Carter Vickers beyond the summer.
Yeah, we hope so. Paul's coming with this point. He's doubting that we will keep a hold of him. I don't know what the contract situation is there. I think it was an option to buy. Again, I think that'll be up to the player. I don't think Celtic would be short coming forward with the transfer fee, Patrick. But again, wages can be the stumbling block with these kind of things. I would love to keep Vickers. I'd love to keep both him and Jota. Obviously, Starfelt is our own player at this moment in time, but I think the two of them have been pivotal to us. Again, we showed that we could rotate between Ralston and Juranovic in that right-hand side, and both are, Ralston played very well again at the weekend. To switch from Vickers, we'll go back up top. Dyson Maeda's record so far at Celtic is, exemplary. It's absolutely fantastic. There was a narrative creeping in, people saying, probably happy that we didn't get him last summer if it was a choice between him and Kyogo and stuff. But I think you certainly see at this point in time why Ange has brought him to Celtic, why Ange rated him, and why he was a G League top goal scorer last season. He ran himself into the ground and will continue to do so. I mean, Kyogo returns to that Celtic side. If Maeda's played out in one of the flanks, that press, I don't think teams will be able to deal with it at all.
No, not at all. And you're saying there his record's phenomenal. I think it's 5 goals out of 12 I've seen somewhere, which is just phenomenal. I mean, it's better than a lot of other wingers in the league, and then obviously the press, what you're saying there. I think Alan Morrison has got a statistic on how many pressures he puts the opposition defence under. I'm not sure exactly of the numbers. I think it's pretty high compared to most average players, even in teams that do press quite high. So I think, whether it's striker or left wing, he's quite keen to press the ball at every opportunity, and totally fits the system. It gives us an advantage. It forces teams into mistakes, and he's a valuable asset. I'm not going to turn around and say I wish we signed him instead of Kyogo back in July. I think Kyogo's still the star player, but Maeda's a very good asset to have, and he's had a few tricky weeks. I think me included, we were all doubting him because he wasn't really getting the service, but then when he was getting the ball to feet, he wasn't really doing much with it, and it's just not his game. So good luck to him, because there is a lot of competition for places. I think when the full team's fit, he'll probably struggle to get a game at striker. If we were to sign Jota, I think he'd probably struggle to get a game at left wing as well. So despite being such a good option in terms of pressing the ball, we've got so many options now, and it's a testament to Ange and the recruitment team, the amount of options that we do have, the quality that we have in the squad, that someone like Maeda, who's got 5 goals and 12, can't get everyone in the team.
Yeah, 5 goals and 12. Boris McNeil doesn't think he's short, well short of being a Celtic player just now. His link-up play and his positional sense is woeful. Let's hope that's fatigue settling in, because it's not good enough yet. I think 5 goals in 12 games to me is an exceptional record. I would disagree with that. I think he's did very well. His positional sense was absolutely fine, and Cindy to go and grab that first goal it was fine in his debut against Hibs. I think it's very hard to judge a player early on, and I think so far he's did very well and he's scored an important goal for us, and long may that continue. Even his header against Bodo Glimt was excellent for somebody that's not very tall. So I'd probably disagree with that point. Patrick, what's your thoughts on that there?
No, I don't think he's well short. I mean, he's got 5 goals in 12. That's you'd have to count that as extremely lucky. If he's well short of being Celtic quality. As BAC is saying here, the position was phenomenal, and it's something I think it's very hard to teach, very hard to coach. Finding yourself in good positions. Larson was exceptional at it. I thought, it's probably what helped Griffiths be a better player than what he maybe should have been. I think he squandered a lot of chances, Griffiths. He was quite a short player. He's obviously got a bad attitude off the park. We've seen that now. But his positional play was quite good at times. He got himself into the right areas, and Maeda's got that. He gets himself front post, back post. We've seen, against Bodo it was front post, against Livingston back post. And obviously when he's pressing the ball, he's used to getting up to high areas and knowing when to press, when not to press. So I think he's a very good asset, and certainly good enough to be a squad player, if not a first team starter. Yeah,
I certainly think we should sign him in the summer if he keeps up his form that he is doing just now. And I think if you think back, Patrick, if we were relying just now, Kyogo being out and Giacomakis being out, if we were relying on Albion Ayeti, do you mean you've seen break a sprint last week and Buchanan Street for the first time in months?
Sprint's taking a wee bit too far.
I don't know how confident we'd probably be. Brown Warrior, again, a usual Tuesday contributors came in to say and remind us that he's a winger come striker, not a striker come winger. Scored most of his goals last season come off the left wing. Yeah, I think that's really important to mention, and he's been played in a number of positions under Ange so far, and he's made an impact. There's no doubt about that. He's been an important player since coming in. Into my guts came in to say Maeda will come good. He's just off a full season and still scored goals and works hard for the team. Perspective has to be taken into account. Patrick, I definitely agree with that. There needs to be perspective in Maeda. Full season at Yokohama, he's came over. Again, it can be very hard to acclimatise for some guys. We've heard all that stuff. And, he came in his Celtic debut and scored no bother. I certainly think Maeda will be a good player for Celtic. Even his goal at Motherwell, I think a few weeks back, just pressing that ball, it can be so important to our game plan. So, yeah, certainly thumbs up for me and you and Maeda. I thought it was excellent again at the weekend. It will be interesting to see where he fits in when he gets game time. We've got a full front three that are all fit. That's easier for me to say than you probably in that one. But yeah, top performance. The team selection, Patrick, usual Twitter, you look at it when you're going to the game or whatever, and there was questions being asked of Ange with his starting lineup. We saw Beaton come in to play that number 6 role, Ralston going at right back, and obviously sticking with Maeda up top and James Forrest, who we'll come to. It was definitely justified, that team selection. It was almost as if, I even thought at times in the game, we showed a bit of aggression that we've not showed at times this season, which was good to see. We knew what Livingston were going to do, and he picked players that he thought could get the job done, and he certainly did do that. And I thought, we probably could have scored more goals. I know we didn't really take our chances in the first half, but second half we made plenty of chances.
Yeah, 100%. And I was one of them. I'm sure you realise that doubted the team selection. I certainly didn't think, Beaton and Maeda should have started. More through me, two best players in the park. I thought Forrest's been poor. I said on here last week, he's got 10 to 13 games to save his Celtic career, or 11 to 13. He's got 9 to 11 now, and
he's got a bit in the tank to do that, though.
Yes, he started well. He's not there yet. I don't think he deserves a contract for scoring the 3rd goal away to Livingston, but if he keeps up the play that he showed against Livingston on Sunday, I think he might well get a new contract, because he played well. He gets Sky Sports Man of the Match. He got what ended up being a crucial goal. A lot of people will say that, he's that type of player who'll score the 3rd or 4th goal when it doesn't really matter that much, but it did end up mattering. They went up the park and scored immediately. it was a great finish as well, a great run. I thought he was a lot more effective in the game than what he has been previously. I think it was, he came on against Rangers and he's came on in home games in the past couple of weeks, and I've thought he was powder puff a lot of the time. But
it looked, there was flashes in that game against St Mirren. He looked a lot more, I don't want to use the word interested, but it just looked as if he was right up for it and, kind of looking to get the ball. And even on Sunday, I thought he was making that option available to Tony Ralston down that right-hand side. And his goal he took absolutely brilliantly. Really, really good finish. And I don't know if the lack of celebration is because he knows that he's got a point to prove just now, because he's probably been written off. I mean, you can certainly be accused of that. I can be, to an extent, accused of that because, I don't think one game's going to justify a new contract for James Forrest, but we know how important a player he's been. He's in previous seasons. He is arguably a Celtic legend. People would scoff at that, but his record speaks for itself in terms of trophies that he's won, what he's contributed over the years. And, players like this, at this point in the season, can be vital to us.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not calling him a Celtic legend, that's for sure, but he's certainly up there. With Maeda. I'm sure there are legal ways of getting out of it, but I don't think we will. No, I mean, if Forrest plays like that for the next, 90, 11 games or something, scoring important goals every single week, then he probably does deserve a new contract. How long, I don't know. He will be 31. There's no stopping that. Yeah, how well he plays, he'll still be getting older. I actually wouldn't be surprised. I hope this doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't give him a new contract and just let him see this one out. Because by the end of this contract, he'll be 32. And, would we get much money from him with 1 year left this summer anyway? So it'll be an interesting scenario that will play out. We've seen Scott Bain, I think, was a 1 year extension. So it's interesting to see if something like that were to happen. You don't know. But I think he probably keeps his place for Dundee United. And if he plays like he did at the weekend, then no complaints there, really. Because Abada was phenomenal there for 2 months, but he's had maybe 2 or 3 off games. So quite happy to have James Forrest in there. And we've seen, Karamoko came on. So if he were to come in as well for maybe the last 20 minutes or so. It was important, I agree. It was important because they went up and scored. Just sometimes his goals aren't, is all I'm saying. But, as I say, we get Karamoko as well, so competition for places. And, Karamoko's another one. We need to be wary of the contract, because he's out of contract this summer.
Well, it will be interesting. It's good that we've got those rotating options, because I think for a lot of this season we have relied too heavily on Lila Abada, and I think we all forget he is only 20 years old. He's hit the ground running since coming in again, a player with an exemplary record at Celtic this season. He's been absolutely crucial to us. He could be well up there as well with Cameron Carter-Vickers in with a shout of Player of the Year and probably Young Player of the Year at 20 years of age. But again, it's important to have probably that senior pro there too, that are both going to challenge for that position, because I think that will only make Abada better. And again, we've seen Abada go through those purple patches, Patrick, and we've seen maybe a wee bit off form. Again, players' form isn't going to last forever. So if a player's having that wee bit of drop-off form, it's good to be able to take. We've touched on Dembele coming on last week against St Mirren. It'll be good to see if he gets more game time. But yeah, really important goal at the weekend. I would love to see James Forrest kick on from this, because did the business. And again, I don't think you drop him for the game up at Tannadice. I think he could be an important player for the game up there. He certainly likes an important goal. Seen that in the League Cup semi-final this season. So yeah, we'll see what happens in that one, but hopefully he kicks on. It was Ange Postecoglou's 50th game. Patrick, I think around about a year ago today, was when we eventually conceded the league. We've come a long, long way since then. Ange's comments after the game was, we've got to keep getting stronger, and I think we are. We're in a good space to keep getting stronger to the end. That comes, 2-3 weeks after his comments after the Raith Rovers game, saying, but we're not where we want to be at this moment in time with the squad, etc. That probably feeds into the wider discussion we're not going to play as much football now, Patrick. We're going to get more time at Lennoxtown to work with the players that we've got. We've already touched on the guys that came in later in the summer. We've obviously had 4 recruits that's came in January, 3 who have played a lot of football. 1 who I've still to see featured regularly, and Yusuke Odeguchi. How important can, one game at a time, literally 1 game at a time, weekly, be in this running? And even just now, it's 8 to go, likely being 5 at home, we hope. Certainly 2 of those are guaranteed, 3, 4 probably guaranteed, and 3 away. This is really now Celtic's title to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, and it will definitely be 5 at home. It's just a matter of, I think we can get maybe Aberdeen away 3 times, Rangers away 3 times.
That Premiership computer can be a bit dodgy at times, as can other things.
Oh, no. You need to be 19 home, 19 away, that's for sure. It's just about playing teams away from home 3 times or something, which would be a bit unfair, but it happens every season, it seems to be. But yeah, it's important to take 1 game at a time. We don't need to worry about the league for another, I think it's 12 or 11 days. We've got Dundee United on the horizon now. I think it's important, when you're, I think it's something like, what is it, 11 games left if we reach the Scottish Cup final, and I think 10 of those would be on a weekend, so it spaces out nicely, because I think one of the post-split games is going to be a midweek game. I think the second last game of the season is usually a Wednesday night, but it's important to take it 1 game at a time. With Ange said after St Mirren, I think Kenny McIntyre on the BBC upset him a bit, saying that it wasn't a stellar performance.
Upset him, I think he would just put him in his place.
Yes, I think so. He says it wasn't a classic performance, and he insinuated that maybe he wasn't happy with the result. But we've taken it 1 game at a time all season. I think he was asked in press, about a title race and how we're now 3 points ahead in the driving seat, and he goes, "Well, you asked me that early in the season. I thought the title was over. We just take it 1 game at a time." And it's obviously what they've done. It's worked. I think it's very impressive. We play a brand of football where we barely give the opposition any chances, and therefore it makes it very difficult for us to actually lose games. Obviously, it's still possible. We've seen it with
We've been limiting chances. You highlighted that to me.
Yeah. We don't. I think it was 2 games in a row. Joe Hart hadn't conceded a shot. I think Hibs and St Mirren didn't have a shot on target. Which obviously very impressive. 180 minutes without conceding a shot on target.
St Mirren did have a shot on target.
Did they?
In the stats, yes.
Right. Okay. Almost 180 minutes then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very impressive way of playing football. It's almost like the perfect way of playing football. Don't concede any chances, barely concede any goals, press high and score loads of goals. It's a pretty phenomenal manager we've got here, and it. Therefore, it makes it very hard to lose games. As I say, obviously will happen eventually, but you sort of fancy yourself in every game to at least get a couple of points. But 1 game at a time, as I say. And
it is 1 game at a time. No, absolutely, it is 1 game at a time. Kind of curveball coming around here from James Wilson. Thank you for commenting. He thinks that the split is the biggest nonsense in world football. Patrick, I don't think we've really had this conversation. What is your thoughts on the split? I think it can be a bit daft for some of the teams, because you end up getting, the team that finishes 7th in the league has a higher points total than whoever sometimes finishes 5th or 6th, and it is that tight just now. That's probably could happen, because you could end up having a scenario where Aberdeen end up possibly in the split finishing 7th but might get more points than the team that finishes 5th in the league. But would you rather have your fixtures completely mapped out in June whenever they come out, instead of this where you don't know, as an unknown, and the league splits into 2?
Yeah, I don't like the split at all. I'm not sure we've ever spoken about this, off air. Never mind on air. No, I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. There's a reason we're the only league in the world that does it. It's absolutely baffling. I think it's unfair to an extent as well. As you were saying there, the difference between 6th and 7th is something like £120,000, and 7th can end up on more points than 6th and still finish 7th. Not only that prize money is effectively determined after 33 games, not 38. I'm looking at the table just now. There's 5 points between 4th and 10th. So that race for 6th or 7th is the closest out of any battle in that league. You know, Dundee and St Johnstone are so cut adrift that one of them is definitely going to be in the relegation playoff. You know, so it's not even really a battle for relegation. They're both almost down. So you've got 6 or 7 teams going for 6 or 7 places, and there's only 5 points to separate them. And it's basically going to be determined in the next 3 games when there's 8 games left of the season. I mean, I don't like it at all. I think if it was popular, it's been around for something like 9 years now, at least. If it was popular, other leagues and nations would have cottoned onto it and done it themselves, and there's a reason they haven't.
One of our comments is saying it works because it's a 12-team league, but I agree with you, Patrick. I think for especially the teams that are in that mid-table, £120,000 could be massive to them in terms of revenue. It can also end up, get your home game revenue. You might not get that extra home game that you might get if it's mapped out and done, as a kind of blanket sheet at the start of the season. So yeah, I think it can be. I don't think it's the best idea. I think possibly it might be better to possibly look at that. But the cinch, as it's getting dubbed now, does things a lot differently from other leagues, and is certainly, pardon the pun, in a league of its own. Our tagline here, we've got 20 minutes to go. So it was announced earlier today, the news broke from the Daily Record, that there was potential that Scott Brown was going to tear up his Aberdeen contract. There's a year left on it, and possibly chuck it at Pittodrie. I put out the question on Twitter, Patrick, whether people would welcome Scott Brown back at Celtic Park in some sort of capacity. I don't think that can be playing whatsoever. I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think those days are well behind him in terms of probably what the manager would expect, and 34, 35 now, Scott. I think he's done his bit at Celtic Park, but possibility of a coaching role, possibly. There's a youth set up there. I think Celtic are actively looking for an under-18s coach at this moment in time. What would your thoughts be on this? My thoughts to outlay it is this shouldn't be based on nostalgia. It shouldn't be based on days gone by, purely based on a footballing decision. If Ange Postecoglou wanted to bring Scott Brown back to Celtic Park in a coaching capacity, I am all for it.
I think if it's for the first team, Ange will have a say, but I think if it's for the under-18s, he is effectively the manager and the director of football in one go. But I'm not sure how much of a say he'll have in the under-18s. I know at all levels we want to try and play Ange ball, but I'm not sure how much of a say he'll have. If we are looking for a coach, and if Scott Brown is the best possible coach we can get, then I think he should come back. But in any other scenario, I don't think so. Even if he's the best coach we can get, I'm not even sure he should be our first team coach, because he only left 9 months ago, and Callum McGregor's, he knows Callum McGregor, he has known him for 10 years, he's the new captain. I think it would undermine him in a way, even though he is a coach. I think it would undermine him slightly. So to have him about the place, he's a phenomenal leader. The mentality that he must have to win league after league, trophy after trophy, especially under Brendan Rodgers, it was absolutely phenomenal. And there's very few players in the world, and there's very few players from Celtic's history that I think could have done that. But Scott is one of them. Definitely as a player, his time's up. But if he is the best possible man for a vacancy at Celtic Park, then yeah, I don't see why he shouldn't come back.
Curtis is agreeing with you on this point. I think it's a very good point you've made there, Patrick, that he believes it's too early to bring back a recent captain who's just played still a lot of the current squad. Obviously guys like the aforementioned Callum McGregor, you've obviously got Neil Beaton still there, David Turnbull, James Forrest, Tony Ralston, Greg Taylor, Scott Bain, etc, etc. So doesn't think it'd be fair in Calmac, might make things awkward. We've also got where have we got somebody else here? Jordan's come in to say he thinks that's a good point too. He thinks that Calmac needs space to lead. as does David Bradley. I agree with that point. Jungle Lion comes in to say Brown definitely deserves a proper send-off. Let him come out before the last game at Celtic Park. Yeah, he didn't really get that proper send-off last year just due to the COVID circumstances. He actually got quite a good round of applause when he went off. When Aberdeen came to Celtic Park, that 2-1 game, it was applauded off. Jim Hannaway's came in to say he thinks that Broony will be a manager in the future. That's the story. Yeah, this is a good point on this. He was linked with that St Mirren job, Patrick, so we can speculate around, whether, would he come back to Celtic Park? If he did come back to Celtic Park, what level of coaching job would he get? Do you think Scott Brown maybe has higher ambitions in that he wants to go out and do it himself first, before even coming anywhere near Celtic Park at this moment in time?
I don't want him to be Celtic manager anytime soon. We've seen what that can do.
Big Ange can stay for as long as he likes.
Yes, definitely. I agree with Estepona boy. I think that's the move for him, to be honest.
It's an interesting one with Gary Caldwell and Sean Maloney.
Yeah, either assistant or maybe a coach or something, because he knows Hibs, he knows Maloney. It seems a good fit, I don't really want him back at Celtic Park, in a sort of crucial position, because even last season it was a bit sad just seeing, I think the way the team was playing sort of took the shine off him a bit, but he was quite clearly past his best, and it was highlighted. It was starkly highlighted last season. I don't think he should be Celtic manager anytime soon, unless he turns into the next Guardiola. I don't want another former Celtic midfielder, former Celtic captain ruining their legacy by having a disastrous managerial spell. Happened once already. But if he ends up at St Mirren, if he ends up at Hibs, if he ends up somewhere in England or Spain or Germany, good luck to him. Hopefully becomes the best manager in the world and replaces Ange in 10 years' time.
Jungle Line again came in to say if Ange wants him, fine. If not, fine. Yeah, totally agree with that. Even on that, Patrick, I don't know how much probably say Ange Postecoglou have had absolutely zero say in the Scott Brown departing the club, because we were chatting about that just before we came on air. That decision was made in late March, I think, 2021. I'd imagine at that point in time, roughly casting my mind back, the Howd stuff broke very soon after that, so I really don't know who probably made that decision. I don't think it would be healthy, though. I would definitely say to bring him in at this point in time into that first team coaching staff. It's settled just now. You don't want to rock the boat. I think Gavin Strachan, Stephen McManus, and John Kennedy are all doing a very good job. So yeah, I would totally agree on that. I don't think anywhere near the first team coaching staff just now. If there was probably any deal to that, you need to wait off till the summer. But I think the Hibs link is a good one that you make there, Patrick, because it could be a possibility. Obviously, he's played with Sean Maloney, played with Big Caldwell, knows them both. It's a club he knows very well. So we'll see what happens in that one there. Hopefully, the AGM Ian Bankier said bring him back as a player. Hopefully, that's not going to happen. I can't see that happening at all. It might be good that Ian Bankier's possibly not too hands-on with football transfers, because he'd probably have Connor Hazard in goals and Scott Brown back in the midfield. It's Dundee United in less than a week now, Patrick. We're not going to have as big a support up there as we did the last time. But actually, we probably will, because I'm just thinking back, the Jerry Kerr stand was shut the last time due to the roof coming in, so we might have something similar to what we had the last time up there. Obviously, the shed area of the stadium is going to be for the home fans. What's your thoughts going into this game? We played very, very well up there in December. That Rogic goal and Turnbull goal, two terrific, and Scales, all three really good goals. What's your thoughts going into this one? I know I was going to say the Rogic goal, the pick of the bunch, but the Turnbull one that he takes, he loops it over Siegrist. Scales one he takes very nicely too. What is your thoughts going into this one? I think it'll be a tough old, tricky cup tie up there at Tannadice on Monday evening. Yeah,
I mean, just thinking back to that game, that was, we were riding a wave at the time, I think. The positivity was flowing, the good results were flowing. First of all, disappointing that Celtic demanded that we have really expensive tickets for that game. I know Dundee United cut our allocation, but they wanted to give us cheaper tickets, and Celtic insisted on it being at least £27. So very disappointing from that point of view. I think they're probably trying to punish Dundee United for cutting the allocation, but they're not really. They're just punishing football fans, ordinary working class football fans. So that was disappointing. But on the football, if we have another performance like we did on, I think it was the 3rd of December or something, quite happy with that. I'll take any win in the cup. The league is where we need to show our performance. Knockout rounds, I'm quite happy to just grab a 1-0 win up the road. It's a weird kick-off time, obviously. I think that's due to the European fixtures and the way that the really intelligent guys running the Scottish game have allocated the television deals. So that's quite unfortunate. But as you say, we've got no midweek games anymore, so it's not really an issue. I think it'll be a tough game. It usually is against Dundee United. In saying that, the tough games have been at Celtic Park. The 3-0 victory at Tannadice was pretty straightforward. It's other teams from Glasgow that have struggled there in the past. But if we play our stuff, we should at least get a rematch at Celtic Park, and I'm quite confident we'll go through. Being honest, I think 99 times out of 100 we'll probably go through in that game. They're a team that have been struggling basically since November, I think, struggling to pick up points. I think they massively overperformed at the beginning of the season, and it's catching up with them.
They're hitting a wee bit of form just now, though. They do look to be playing some good stuff. I think Tam Courts has certainly done a good job up there since coming in. Again, really interested in that system of bringing somebody who was kind of technical director, I think, up at Tannadice, there at the manager role. Pato must be keeping up with my Twitter. Shane, what he didn't know today, it was Barzini all along. Yes, of course, from The Godfather. I wonder who the Barzini was at Celtic Park last season. I won't do any spoilers for The Godfather, but Barzini certainly has a big part to play in that first movie. So it's less than a week now to go to Tannadice, Patrick. We touched on it earlier. It's going to be kind of strange actually not seeing Celtic play midweek because I became used to it. But I do think this will be to our benefit. Getting in that training park at Lennoxtown and just giving extra time with the manager to work through things, and I think you could see a real machine coming at some teams here. Going through these next round of games. Hopefully that starts off on Monday evening at Tannadice. Would you change much about the team that went to Skip Livingston at the weekend?
It'd be really harsh to drop Beaton, but I'm not too sure. I've just seen that as well, no replays.
Yep, so there is no replays.
We'll just need to do it in 90 or 120 minutes. I know we're good. I don't necessarily fancy some penalty shootouts. It's a bit of a lottery that, especially when they've got that Seaquist goal. 120 minutes, we should be beating Dundee United. So play our stuff. If we're on form, we'll win the game. If we're not on form, a bit more of an uphill battle, but again, we should win the game. And as you say, all those days in the training park, they maybe done analysis yesterday, day off today, and then maybe 6 sessions or something over the next 6 days. I'm not entirely sure, but we should be fit and firing. It's good that we've made it to the 8th of March now, having played midweek every single week effectively, and that's us now finally getting a break. It shows that we are firing on all fronts as a football club. Bodo was disappointing, but the league is so important this year. It's worth so much money. I say it every week, but we just have to win the league. That's true. In saying that, I think they'll both score their next penalties. Whether they get to take one for Celtic again or not, I don't know.
Well, hopefully Juda's in the park. Hopefully Juda's in the park if we get a penalty, because he's a cool customer at taking them. But again, it's a position where you kind of look at it just now, Patrick, and Ralston was excellent at the weekend. Fought a really good performance. He managed to be involved in the game and annoy some people in the media too. We are playing well when the rule book starts to come out on sports scene. I think that levels itself out in the game. But yeah, it's another position where you kind of look at and you think, well, what do we do here? Do we just rotate it, or do do we stick with what we've got there? But yeah, I think both probably, if they do get the chance, will probably score the next penalties. But yeah, keep Judah on the penalties. If anybody's got anything else to come in, we've got 5 minutes left. It's a wee bit harder when it's just the two A's on here. So if you do want to ask us anything, I've come in any comments, please do. 67's came in on the chat here to say any word on Kyogo and Turnbull returns. I think we're all kind of just waiting to see when this happens, Patrick. I think Kyogo, if he's back for the game at the start of April, would be great. Maybe, I think that's probably the date we're all possibly heading towards. And I think, again, it's only going to put us in a better place as a team when those two guys return. In terms of your own thoughts on this, where do you really think we are just now? I touched on that earlier about us being probably in a better place than some people expected. Where do you think we are just now with 8 games to go in the league and a quarter-final game in the Scottish Cup?
I think we're in a great position. With a bit of a sticky patch there where certainly domestic results were fine, but European results were disappointing. Bit of a surprise as well. But we are turning into a team on form again. Despite the fact we only dropped 2 points in the last 10 games or something, but we are hitting form again. As you say, somewhere between 9 and 11 games to go. Excellent position to be in. I think you'd have bitten your hand off for that this season if you said we'd make it to the last 32 or whatever of a European competition, win the first cup, be in the quarterfinals of the second cup, and be in front in the league with 8 games to go. Phenomenal position. All credit to the club. And yeah, no complaints really. Just need to keep on winning. I can't fault them at all. Just need to keep our heads level, as you say. Play Juve on Monday. I think it's a bit of a worry. When they're over-analysing the sports scene, I think none of the Celtic goals should have stood, according to the 3 former Rangers players in the sports scene panel. Really unbiased views there. I think the own goal shouldn't have stood because Starfelt possibly played it out the park about 70 yards in 30 seconds before the goal was scored. I mean, totally ludicrous. We should have actually lost 1-0 according to the BBC. But it is what it is. We just need to keep on winning games. The fact that they're unhappy shows that we're doing something right.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over what Stephen Thompson, Kenny Miller and Ricky Foster's got to say in the telly. Jim has come in the comments here, ties in, with the Scott Brown chat. I've had his comments in the backroom staff this season now. Angie's the boss. Yeah, I was one of those people, I think you're in agreement, Patrick, that we were kind of a bit perplexed that the guys that had been there last year had hung around. But I think everything we've heard from Ange on them is these guys wanted to learn. And by the looks of it, whenever you're at games or you have a wee look over there, it's very clear that Ange is running the show, but the other guys are certainly taking the direction from him and executing his plan when needed to be. I don't think there's any questions now. I think that's a complete line drawn under for me on John Kennedy, Gavin Strachan and Stephen McManus at the club. Would you agree with that, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird one at the time because obviously they've been there through, John Kennedy in particular. Bad times under Ronnie, good times under Rodgers, good times under Lennon, bad times under Lennon, good times under Ange. So it's hard as an outsider to judge these people, but Amy McDonald. It's obviously Ange does an easier job of it being on the inside, being able to see how they help in the sessions. John Kennedy's obviously got something about him. If all 4 of those managers were quite happy to keep him on, but yeah, no complaints. I mean, if he wants to bring in another one of his coaches, quite happy with that as well. That might be something he does later down the line. Who knows? I'm sure we'll see. But I think he said in December that we've still got another 12 months until we hit where he wants to be, which is obviously quite exciting. So, whether he brings in other guys to do that, we've obviously bring in 2 guys in the background. The fitness guy, their names escape me now. But, he's bringing in guys sort of in the sort of lower rankings, if you will, in other departments in analytics and stuff. So, quite happy with what we've got, mainly because I'm just quite happy with it as well. So, onwards and upwards.
No, absolutely. Just before we finish here, Patrick Dolan's came in just to say that tickets for the game against St Johnstone Celtic Park are now on general sale. Yep, the game against Ross County sold out, which again, just now, obviously you and I, Patrick, both season ticket holders, but there's a real good feel factor about Celtic just now. Even last week's dampening news that came out about the game in Sydney was just speculation at the time they were on them, was eventually confirmed the next morning. The Celtic support have been absolutely fantastic, since the pandemic, and putting their money into the club. Another sellout against Ross County, 3 o'clock on a Saturday, it'll be good for that. And now this game against St Johnstone, hopefully get that sold out, and hopefully that game is another big step in us going towards reclaiming our league title back. We'll be on next week after my trip to Tannadice in the Scottish Cup. It feels very weird not previewing a game on a Wednesday night here, but here we are. We're into this part of the season. It's early March. The Celts are 3 points clear, and we'll be back next week. Your ACSOM Bulletin will be here all week, and we'll be covering the game obviously next Monday. But until then, thank you for all your comments, and thank you for watching A Celtic State of Mind.